The call of the jinns. You called me. I won't let go now. Ahmet was a devout but also curious and questioning student studying at the Faculty of Theology in Istanbul. He found the stories he had heard about jinns, fails and spiritual beings interesting since his childhood, and sometimes he would do research. His teacher would always tell him, "Son, these sciences are dangerous. When some doors are opened, it is hard to close them again." But Ahmet was someone who did not like to leave question marks in his mind. One day, while walking in a narrow passageway in the back streets of the Grand Bazaar, where second-hand booksellers were located, he noticed a very old, dusty bookstore. When he entered, an old man who seemed lost among the shelves looked at him. "I know what you are looking for," said the old man before Ahmet could say a word. Ahmet's skin crawled, but he didn't show it. The man took down a book from the top of the shelf, full of worn, yellowed pages, and placed it in front of him. It said Kitab al-Jinn, Book of the Jinn. This book has been sealed for centuries. Every person who has possessed it has paid a price. Without taking the man's words seriously, Ahmet bought the book and quickly left. This was the biggest mistake of his life. When he examined the book carefully, he noticed that it contained methods for communicating with the world of jinn. Among the pages, it was written that some verses and surahs should be read backwards. When Ahmet saw this, he felt a shiver inside him. The verses of the Quran are the word of Allah. Using them like this is a great sin, he thought, but the curiosity inside him was clouding his faith. Finally, after everyone was asleep at midnight, he retired to his room. He followed the instructions in the book to the letter. He lit the candles, and the shadows began to flicker on the wall. He took a deep breath and whispered the first words. Suddenly the lights flickered. His window opened quickly, despite the lack of wind. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly, his breath steaming. At that moment, a whisper was heard. "You called me." When Ahmet opened his eyes, he saw a being in the corner of the room that was clearly not human. This creature, which seemed to be a shadow but whose eyes glowed like two embers, was looking at him with its back hunched. Ahmet could not move. The being slowly approached and spoke. "You said my name. I am with you now." Ahmet tried to recite Ayat al-Kursi with all his might, but the words were knotted in his mouth. It was as if his tongue had been tied. At that moment, he saw the shadow's hand slowly reaching out towards him. Just as he was about to touch himself, he made a last effort to say the Shahada. Echadu en la alayhi alallah vechadu en Muhammadan abdullah rezaluhu. At that moment, the shadow screamed and suddenly disappeared. But all was not over. When Ahmet woke up in the morning, he felt tired and sick. Even though he was in his own room, he felt as if the air had changed. When he looked up and looked in the mirror, he saw a word carved in Arabic letters on his right arm. Liba. When he started searching on the internet, his hair stood on end. Liba was a being that haunted its owner when summoned in the realm of jinn. Ahmet could not sleep soundly at all nights after that day. Sometimes he felt like something was watching him in dark corners, and sometimes he heard that ominous whisper in his ears. "You called me ... I will not let go now ... Finally, he had to go to a cleric and have a spiritual cleansing done. The last sentence the teacher said was engraved in Ahmet's soul.